Alrighty then, folks, stand to, my corners, and welcome to a special episode of MegaMek, or as we more commonly call it, MechHQ. So it has been asked quite a few times if I can demonstrate how to sort of get this whole thing started. How do you make a company? How do you start things out? What are the rules that you should be using and paying attention to? So I'm going to hopefully demystify that process to whatever extent that I can. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Tirak. One of the things that we do pretty regularly now is we have a Friday MechHQ game, which is a part of our Discord company. So members of our Discord are actual pilots in the game, and we play through it. And several have asked me, how do I make that work? An edited version of this is going to go up on YouTube, hopefully tomorrow, maybe later on after that. But we're definitely going to see if we can't make things work as best as we possibly can. So, in order to get started, basically what you're going to do is you're going to come to megamek.org, and that will bring you to this lovely location. This is the people who actually make MegaMek. And what is MegaMek? Well, MegaMek is the original 1980s tabletop version of BattleTech on your computer. Super simple to learn, super simple to use, way simpler to play than an actual person, and doesn't require too much setup and foreknowledge on how to actually get things going. YouTube's from the future, yep. So, the way this works is you're going to come to megamek.org, you're going to go downloads, and you're going to pick the most recent version of MechHQ stable, and you're going to download that. You can do one of the development branches. You'll notice that the development branch is about 4 months ahead of where the stable branch is, but I prefer just using stable for my example. So you're going to download this version, you're going to extract it and install it, and that will give you access to several fun things. When you actually finally boot up the game, you're going to be presented with this menu: start a new campaign, load a new campaign, load last save, and quit. Obviously, we don't want to quit. We're here to have fun. So we're going to start a brand new campaign, and it'll start loading through all of the various information that you're going to need in order to make this whole thing work. Give it a date chooser. This is going to determine when in the actual game that you will start the game. A couple of points that you may want to look for. The year 3000 is a pretty decent one because that is when the Wolf's Dragoons, which are a pretty major mech company, show up in the inner sphere, so that's pretty thematic. 3025 is when the 2018 BattleTech game that came out by Harebrained Schemes takes place. 3049 is the year of the clan invasion, and 3060 something is sort of Operation Bulldog and all that. Or those are sort of the years that you may want to focus on. You'll just navigate through using this, or if you want to type in the whole date down here, you can type in whatever date. Clan invasion. So I'm going to actually set mine in the clan invasion, so I will go change that to 1/1/3049. That'll be January 1st of 3049, and you can either hit enter, or if you select using this means you just press one of these keys and it'll go with that. So hit enter, and it's going to ask you what preset do you want to use. You're going to want to use the against the bot rule set. That should be the simplest and easiest way to make this work. That way, if you want, you can just immediately rush through everything else and not really care about it. So we'll hit OK on that, and that'll populate the normal preset rule. It's now going to give us all of our campaign options, and you're going to name it whatever you want to. I kind of recommend the name be what your company is going to be called. Doesn't have to be, but that's sort of how I prefer to go with it. So we'll do Starlight Irregulars. You can select your faction here if you want. If you want to be part of one of the major houses, you can go and select them. If you want to be one of the clans, you can go and select them. But for your first time playing through, you're probably going to just want to be a mercenary. You can accept contracts from everybody, and the Against the Bot is a little bit more designed in order to work with mercenaries. You can change your date if you want to, and you can change your default camo, which I will go with the Fusiliers, the Certus Avengers, because I like the little star pattern that you get on the shoulder. Question, do the dates mean anything in game beyond knowing the tech level? Depending on the date will change who is holding which planets and that sort of thing, as well as how hard it is to do certain repair rolls should you select the option, what mechs are available, what technology is available. So it really can change things up quite drastically. A game played at the end of the first Succession War is going to look very different from a game played at the start of the clan invasion and post-clan invasion. The star map will change and alter in order to fit that. So you're going to want to select your date based on what interests you. I'm actually going to go back here, so there we go, 3049. So if you wanted to play like the Arano Restoration, you'd select 3025, and then you'd try and find the Arano Restoration somewhere in here. I don't know if it's in this version that we're playing, which is on the stable branch, but I do believe it will be coming to the game eventually, and if not, you can create your own Arano Restoration should you want. So these will be your general options. You'll pick a camo scheme, you'll pick your date, you'll pick your faction, I suggest mercenaries, and you'll choose your company name. Repair and maintenance, you generally don't need to touch any of this. If you just want to go right on through it, you can. You can just immediately hit confirm and you'll be rocking and rolling anyway. I like to change a couple of things, and I'll be sort of showing more my personal style on how I like to build the game, just to sort of give you a little bit of an idea, some medium difficult ways that you can add on to this. I like to use era mods for repair rolls, depending on which era that you're in. If you're 3000, 3025, whatever, the first Succession War, the late Succession War, the height of the Star League, all of that stuff. Certain repair rolls will be easier or harder depending on that. So if you play in the year 3025, I believe you get a +1 to all of your repair rolls, which is a bad thing. Low numbers are good in this game. High numbers are bad, except when you roll on the dice, you want as high a number as you can possibly get. So if you use the era mods, it is a little bit more thematic and a little bit more immersive in my opinion, just because of the way that it makes it harder. If you're playing in like the Dark Age, suddenly it becomes much more difficult to actually build and construct and fix a mech. And so that's what you would use for that. Place tech assigned unit. This stuff right here. This is just used for sort of sorting through various repair options. You don't need to bother with any of this. It's completely pointless for the purposes of what we're talking about here. You do want to use quirks. Quirks make mechs interesting. There's no difference between a dragon and a quick draw aside from the equipment that's on it, which can all be changed and removed in this version of the game. Hard points were not something that was in the original board game, and they're not in this game. So if I wanted to make a quick draw into a dragon or a dragon into a quick draw, I can do that. If you add quirks, suddenly there's a difference between the two mechs that actually matters. So use quirks. It'll make your life just a little bit more fun. There's a couple of errata you can bother with. This damage destroy parts by margin of failure. If you're looking to have a bit of an easy mode, turn this off. Basically, every time your techs try to repair something, if they fail beyond this margin, the part will be destroyed, or in some way unrepairable. Like if they're trying to fix a torso section of a mech, if they fail in this example, by more than 3, so if they have to roll a 7 and they roll a 2, then the part is destroyed and gone. And on mechs, that can actually pretty much scrap an entire mech. So it makes it more difficult, but again, I like it more thematic, and I'm a bit of a glutton for punishment. But if you're looking for an easier skate through, turn this off. Make maintenance checks. I like to change this to 300. Didn't change it. I like to change this and drastically increase this to 360 days, so that'll be maintenance checks every year. What a maintenance check can do is it can totally screw over a mech, because what your tech will do is he'll go through every single part on the mech, literally every single part, and he will roll. And if he rolls poorly, the quality of that part will get worse and worse until eventually you need to completely refit the entire mech. That can be fun to a certain extent, but even I'm not that much of a glutton for punishment. I set it to a year, and I give it a maintenance modifier of -5. Just to make my life just a little bit easier. So that way maintenance is super easy, nearly impossible to fail. You can use quality modifiers for maintenance checks. This will make it easier or harder. Reverse quality names. So for some reason in Battletech, I don't know why they did this, but quality is between A through F, and F is the best and A is the worst. So F is fine, A is abysmal. If you select this option, it'll reverse that, so A will be good and F will be bad. Take your pick on how you want to actually do it. And only damage parts that are the worst quality, there is a chance that during maintenance you can break apart. Selecting this will only have it break apart if it's an A quality. And you can, if you want, you can log all your maintenance rolls. Supplies and acquisition. This allows you to sort of theme your game even more. This will be determined how do you get parts, how do you find medium lasers or mech arms or whatever piece of equipment that you need to put onto a mech in order to build it and construct it and make it better. Normally what it's set to is administration, so you'll take someone who has the admin skill and they will use their administration skill to roll to see if they can find something. If you're a mercenary, that makes perfect sense. You're contacting various supply chains, you're calling up various businesses and saying, hey, I'm looking for a medium pulse laser. Do you have it in stock? Do you know somebody who happens to have it? And that'll be an easy way of sort of imagining how you get your hands on something. But let's say you're playing in Dark Age, and in Dark Age that doesn't mean anything. There is no supply chain at this point, so you set it to scrounge. So instead you use your scrounge ability to find stuff, because you're going through garbage heaps to attempt to find things and break stuff up. If you're Comstar, you may want to pick tech, so you'll use your tech skills in order to see if you can construct or rebuild or recondition ancient technology in order to do whatever you want. Negotiation, let's say you're part of a house force and you can use the negotiation skill because you're negotiating with the other companies around you. Hey, I need a medium pulse laser. I've got 2 mech arms. How about we trade, because I know that your trebuchet needs a new arm and I really need that pulse laser. And the last one is automatic success. If you just want to make your life easy, you can click automatic success. I don't recommend it. I think it generally won't come up very often that you'll be limited in some way, but it can be fun to have certain not being able to get absolutely everything immediately. So that's generally what I put in. You can put in a penalty for clan equipment, and also you can make it so that only support or personnel can make these acquisition checks. Anybody can get almost any skill. So if you have a mech warrior who has administration, does he really have time to be going through all of those steps in order to find a part? If you don't think so, click it so that only support personnel can do it. Otherwise, everybody will be able to make the check if they have the appropriate skill. Delivery times, this is where you can really either screw yourself or make your life easy. You can change the delivery time. The normal is 2d6 plus 0 with a minimum transit time of 1 day. And if you want to make that months, go right ahead. If you want to make that years, you can go right ahead. It makes things pretty amusing, depending on how much you kind of want to screw yourself. If your campaign is a little bit more narrow in scope and you want to sort of focus only on a planet that you happen to be on, you can use the planet-based acquisition mode. This will basically just make it so that it'll pull the planet based on what sort of things the planet has. So if this is a tech-rich planet, it'll be easy. If this is middle of nowhere with just agriculture around, it'll be much harder to find parts. Tech limits units and parts by year. I highly suggest you turn this on. If you don't turn this on, you're going to get literally every single piece of equipment in the game, and that can be somewhat overwhelming and completely out of timeline. So in my opinion, keep this on for sure. That way it brackets it. That way if you're playing in 3025, you only have stuff that you would have in 3025. You can order it to disallow extinct units. So land air mechs come to mind. They become extinct by the middle of the Fourth Succession War or so. They're extinct pretty much a little bit before that, but they're incredibly hard to find. This will make it so that stuff that you could find that is of the right tech level, but realistically just doesn't really exist anymore, won't show up to get in the way and just be all over the place. That way you won't end up fighting 15 lambs for no apparent reason. You select which one of these you want depending on which faction you happen to be playing. We're going to be playing an Inner Sphere campaign, so we'll allow purchasing of Inner Sphere units and parts, but we won't allow purchasing of clan units and parts. Just because we're playing in 3049, technically just before the clan invasion, the clans are still doing their own stuff in clan space. So if you wanted to run a clan campaign, you could absolutely do that and not pay any attention to the Inner Sphere. So you'll select which one is more appropriate to your campaign. Only allow cannon units for purchase. Throughout the game, if you're like me, you're going to tweak, you're going to modify, you're going to alter mechs, and you're going to save those various configurations and variants. If you have that selected, all of those things won't show up in the purchase menu. So it makes life a little bit more clean. Otherwise, you suddenly see all of the old random variants that you created and selected. They'll start showing up that don't really make sense because you kind of personally built it and it was supposed to be your ride. Select that, won't happen. Same thing with only allow cannon variants as refits. There's various refit kits that you can get and build. A refit kit will be designed based on mechs that you build. So if I build, I'm going to use an example of one that one of my players recently gave me. They created a Raven 3X, which had a modified turret and TSM and that sort of thing. It was very cool. But if I import that into the game, that becomes a refit kit. And now anybody can build it. And a refit kit is much easier to install and sort of obtain. If you select this as only allow cannon variants as refits, that'll make it so that that refit kit version doesn't show up and it'll only be cannon units that are there. Turn that on or off depending on however you want. Maximum tech level, I select unofficial because I like having the most amount of options. This is really just how complex do you want the game to be in terms of actual building. Introductory is going to be very similar to what Harebrained Schemes did back in 2018 with their version of Battletech, where you remove and add on weapons and jump jets and basic stuff. You go all the way down to unofficial, you can start adding cranes to mechs. It becomes kind of fun and sort of derpy as to what you're sort of adding on to stuff. I do unofficial because it lets me sort of GM better ideas on what sort of opposition will end up facing my company. But if you want to play a much more sort of narrow focused game, you can keep it on standard and that'll be perfectly fine. But I'm going to keep it on unofficial because I'm a jerk. Use variable tech level, turn this on, so this will change things. So if check the tech level for a part or unit will change depending on whether it's in prototype stage or production stage. So if you are playing in standard, TSM may show up, but TSM is only available in unofficial, and then experimental, then advanced, and then becomes standard. And so it starts showing up for various things. And use faction intro dates. Different factions will get access to different equipment at different times, depending on when it sort of came over. The last one is a great option. It is unofficial, but I do highly recommend that you play with it, even if you're trying to be very vanilla in the way that you play, and it's use ammo by type. It's checked by default because it's such a good idea. In the original Battletech game, you have LRM 20 ammo, you have LRM 15 ammo, LRM 5 ammo, LRM 10 ammo, and they're all distinct and different. What this does is it just says all LRM ammo is LRM ammo. You still have LRM 20 bins that you associate with various different mechs, and you can still purchase in blocks as if you were buying for an LRM 20. But at the end of the day, when you finally actually get it into your stores, all of that ammunition is amalgamated, and when you load it onto the mechs, it just takes from that storage and refills everybody individually or in pieces. It just cleans up everything so much nicer. Otherwise, you start having to juggle. I have X many tons of SRM4 ammo and X many tons of SRM6 ammo, and they don't combine for reasons. So, highly suggest you keep that one very much checked. Personnel, in general, you're not going to want to touch this. You can alter things like salaries. How much do you want to pay your mech warriors? I do add on track service time, just so I know how long somebody's been in my company, so I know sort of who's been hanging around, who's survived a very long period of time. Also, one of the things you can use, I don't use it, but I want to use it, is use individual initiative bonuses. So what the game will normally do is it'll take your lance leader and it will roll as if they were the initiative for the entire company, and then that slots everybody in when you come into a battle. If you want it to be very individual skill-based, you'll check that, and that way every single pilot will have a different initiative that they will try and roll for in order to get the best position. It's currently off in our campaign, and I'll leave it off here. Edge is an emergency reroll, so if somebody shoots you in the head and that would kill you, you can use your edge to reroll it and redirect a shot somewhere else. Very, very useful. Highly suggest you play with it. Again, it's a default option. Some people want to turn it off if they want to make their game extra lethal, but it makes life very painful if you do turn it off. Edge can also be used on non-combatants. So if a mech tech fails a roll by a really terrible number and would break the part, you can use Edge to reroll that. That can make it very helpful in order to keep your entire company from going through random parts all of the time. Or 3 more critical, let's just use Edge. Yes, there's a whole list of options that you can use Edge with that we can go over once we actually have the personnel in front of us. Using this makes life a little bit easier. If you have an especially cool mech tech that you think should be like brilliant, then you could turn this on and use it with them. The only other thing that you'll really kind of pay attention to is capture prisoners in scenarios. If you're playing Intersphere, default prisoner status is a prisoner. If you're playing as Klansman, it'll be bondsman. So that's basically all of that's going to do. So we'll keep it as prisoner. Finances, pay for parts, obviously. Pay for repairs, yes. Pay for new units. You're going to leave all this on. Infantry don't count for contract pay, just is going to alter the payout a little bit for you. You don't need to worry about any of that. If you anticipate being in peacetime a lot of the time, you can check one of these various options that'll change how much you're having to pay your company when you're not actively engaged. The idea being that your operation tempo is lower, and so you're not constantly having to pay people as much. It can make things easy or difficult or however you want it to be. Check or uncheck as you desire. You can sell parts, you do maintenances, take out loans, all kinds of fun stuff. But in general, turn on pay for repairs if you want to make it just a little bit more reasonable. Otherwise, it becomes kind of pointless. And then there's a modifier for client price check. Depending on your options, we'll alter that. You don't need to worry about that. Mercenary, you will basically never touch this, like ever. Basically, all this means is your contract payment is going to be based on what's your BPV of your TO&E. So your TO&E is table of organization and equipment. It contains all of your mechs, all of your parts, all of your inventory. Everything in the company is in this. It'll take a percentage of that, run it through a calculation, and say, okay, your company is worth a 20 million payout on this contract, and then it'll present contracts of that. You can alter this, you can tweak this, you can mess with it, or you can base it on the payment of a payroll of everybody in the company. So if you're running an infantry-heavy company, you may want to select this instead because your BPV is going to be very low, but you're going to have a whole bunch of people that you got to pay out through operating costs. So, where's the option to make Sprog a member of the infantry? Not here. Don't touch this. This is the XP. Changing this will fundamentally change the entire way your game is playing. Since this is a deep and very early primer, don't touch this. Just let this go on. You can look at it to see where you're going to get XP from, and you can look at it to see how much it's going to cost you in the future to gain abilities, but otherwise, don't touch this. It is the best advice I can give you. Same thing with this. Skills, don't touch this. This is all very nitty-gritty, crunchy, balanced stuff. If you think, because you've been playing for 500 hours of this game or 1,000 hours of this game, that you think that the balance is off slightly and that this skill should be worth this, you can come in here and you can tweak that. But if you're brand new, don't touch. Same thing with special abilities. Don't touch any of it. You don't need to know about it. You don't need to worry about it. It's all in game. It all works. Once you start messing with this, you're messing with fundamental balance. And if you're at that point where you think that you have a good idea of what you want the game to be tweaked to, come in here, have a happy. But for our purposes, you don't need to know any of this. Skill randomization, very similar thing. This is just going to be the various random things that it'll come up with. Rank system is something fun that you can mess around with. It'll depend on what you're looking for. This allows you to decide what rank you are using for your various members of your company. So default is Star League, so it'll be very recognizable to even people who are not very familiar with military rank structure. So you've got your lieutenants, your captains, your majors, and all that, and that'll be very simple. If you want to play as one of the various houses, hey, their ranks are here. If you want to play Federated Sons, you've got your commander, sergeant, majors, and your subalterns, and your lieutenants. I keep it on Star League because I'm American, and this makes it very, very easy to work with. Name and portrait generator. If you have a portrait pack, and I highly suggest you get one, you can automatically get people to have pictures next to their names. It's very helpful for easy identification. It's by default, it's set to Mech Warriors only. I will then go in and turn on every single one of them because I want to know what you all actually look like. The only one you can keep it off on, if you really want to be a bit of a jerk, is don't turn on Aztecs. Aztecs are basically laborers that are hired randomly. So if you really don't want, and they cycle through very often. So if you don't care about them, you don't have to select Aztecs. You can also change the percentage of male or female in your company. If you want to play a Canopian group, you can do that. If you want to play I don't even know what faction would be like this, but I imagine there might be one. In general, I generally just leave it on 50 because it seems perfectly reasonable. This will use your chosen or assigned faction for names. So it's going to come back to your general tab and say, oh, your faction mercenary, and it'll take from the mercenary name list. But if you want to change this midstream, you can just uncheck this. And now we happen to be on a Draconis Combine contract, so we're going to take names from the Draconis Combine list. And that's all that actually matters for. But we're good with general as it is. Personnel market, don't touch it. Again, it's already preset for against the bot rules. Various personnel will come up when they're needed. Against the bot, this becomes the more explicit rules on what you're doing. You're not going to touch this. You're going to just use the normal rat generator. You could use the traditional ones. You don't need to use the normal rat generator. It's dynamic. It'll work with things. We are going to use the against the bot skill rating. This is your general difficulty slider. You're going to use this to select how hard things are going to be. On your first game, I kind of suggested you go green or even ultra green. Regular can be a bit rough because there's a lot to sort of take in with this game. If you're not already used to Battletech and how it plays, and I mean the original tabletop version, set it back a little bit further. One thing that I always do, founders never retire. I want my founders to retire when I want them to retire. Also, this is a really easy cheat for making sure that the players don't automatically randomly retire. I also do not do retirement rolls when a contract is completed because retirement is a pain in the butt. At the end of a contract, it can just be an absolute murder to an entire company, and I have lost more than one sort of test company because I forgot about the retirement rules and it just decimated the whole thing. Because when a pilot retires, they take their shares with them, which is a percentage of the company that belongs to them, so like 2 to 4%, and that can clean you out really fast when a whole bunch of people retire. So don't do it then. Set customized retirement rules and make it so it's ridiculously easy to run unless you're being very tight to the rules. You are also going to make sure that you exclude large craft from your share value. The share value represents the price of your entire company. If you have a dropship in there because you've leased one, if it counts for the amount of money, these dropships can run literally hundreds of millions of C-bills. That'll clean you out right fast. So exclude large craft because it just makes a heck of a lot more sense because you wouldn't keep those on quite the same books. Using aerospace, vehicles, if you want to run a mech-only game, turn that off, and you'll be rocking and rolling as you want. Clan outforce use vehicles, it just sets it up so the clans have to fight vehicles as well. You come down here, this is going to be your contracts. This is very important. It will be set up to 800 light years. I'm going to drop it down to 125 to make it a little bit more local to my neighborhood. I want to only date the hot singles in my area and not the hot singles on the literal opposite end of the inner sphere. Variable contract lengths, yes, there's just changes it to how long does a various contract work. Merc company size limits. If you turn this on, then you're going to have to make sure that you keep your company very narrow as to how big it is, because if you get too big for your britches, then it starts penalizing you for being really big and not having a phenomenal commander to handle all of the craziness on that. Restrict parts of my missions. If you do a raid, you're not going to have access to various weaponry. You're not going to have access to various items that you might desperately need. So if you want to sort of just jump in the deep end, leave that on. If you want to have a much easier time, turn it off. That way you'll always be able to get in spare parts. Limit lance deployment by weight. I kind of suggest that you keep that on, but you don't have to. The maximum weight of an assault lance is 390 tons. If you feel that you want a gosh darn Steiner Scout Lance, you turn that sucker off, so that way you can drop 400 tons without a problem, or more. And lance deployment by size, so it's 3 for 6 for the inner sphere. If you go over that, it won't let you do it. Turn that off if you want to have a little bit more flexible. I like to do augmented lances, which puts me right up against the 6, but if you wanted to have like vehicle companies, that becomes a little bit more restrictive than it otherwise needs to be. This tells you what item that you are using in order to figure out how well your company is structured and stays together. Worries about things like retirement rolls, how many lances can be active at a single time rolling for battles. This will be based on your commander's strategy if you leave this checked. If you don't, I have no idea how it shows up. It might just be normal. And you can adjust contract payment for deployment limits. Intensity. This is an important one. I've been rambling on about a whole bunch of things, but this is very important. So every single week, you can set your lances to what you want to do. They can fight, defend, scout, and train. You can also have them as unassigned, but unassigned is basically off the charts, so it doesn't even matter for our purposes. Every single week, your lance will roll a dice or a number generator, and it will come up with whether or not it fights a battle. If it is set to fight on intensity 1, 40% of the time it'll fight. If it's on defend, 20% of the time it'll fight. Scouting, 60% it'll take from the scout lance and 10% on training. If you want that more, step that up, and suddenly you'll notice these numbers start skyrocketing until intensity 5, where you're basically fighting every single week. If you don't want to fight nearly that much, you can step it all the way down. Let's say you want to roleplay that you're on having a beach mission. There, you go with a 0.1%. So set your intensity for how much you want to fight. You can leave it as default, although kind of stepping up is not the worst thing in the world. Gives you a 45% almost chance of having a normal battle at 1.2. Scenarios. Also, so it adjusts combat scenario frequency. Yes, a lance will only ever fight once a week, but it'll determine how often they will fight week to week, if I'm explaining that at all well. So this is the chance that they will be fighting per week. Higher intensity conflicts, greater chance of fighting that week. Lower intensity conflicts, less chance of fighting that week. Scenarios, also very important. Personally, I turn off the double enemy vehicles because I don't like drowning in 1,010,000 tanks, but enemy vehicle or combined arms units include twice as many as mechs normally would. So instead of 4 tanks, you would get 8 tanks. It's annoying. I also tend to invert the ratios for how often you're going to run into things. That way you run into more mechs than vehicles. You can allow enemy VTOLs, vertical takeoff and landing, to attack helicopters and that sort of thing. The AI doesn't really know how to work with them just yet, or at least not last time I checked, so it's rather experimental. The bot does not have full support. It doesn't know how to raise and lower their altitude. So it can move them around and they can be pretty interesting, but you're going to need to sort of GM it a little bit to make sure that it works properly. I don't really suggest using enemy VTOLs just because of that, unless you're in a very specific scenario. Turrets and infantry, I absolutely turn on, because I like having a building with a random triple AC-5 turret with a couple of infantry hidden around the area, just to sort of fill in the area. Makes things a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more fun. You can also include aerospace fighters. The bot actually doesn't know how to use aerospace fighters. I don't recommend turning them on, just because it becomes very much a hassle. The aerospace fighters can be incredibly deadly, and the bot is actually pretty good with them, so keep the battle on the ground. Adjust lance weight for players' vehicles, so it'll compensate if you have a whole ton of vehicles in a lance. You'll want that on, otherwise it just becomes too easy. And also weight class distributions for factions, you want to keep that on. That way Steiner is going to bring you more heavy units and that sort of thing. Use dropships. Don't use dropships. If you have a dropship in your company, it will insist on dropping that dropship in the middle of a battle. That's putting an awful lot of assets at risk for no reason. If you don't have a dropship, they'll give you a random leopard. Don't use it. Just leave this unchecked. It becomes way more complicated than it otherwise needs to be. It's such a pain in the butt. It crashes every time, pretty much. The odds of your dropship making it without crashing are very, very low. So don't bring the dropship. Use weather conditions, use light conditions. If you don't want to fight in midnight, turn off the light condition. If you don't mind fighting night battles, keep it on. Weather conditions, you can have F5 tornadoes, and those will instantly destroy tanks, and it's the most hilarious thing you've ever seen. I recommend keeping it on solely for that. Use planetary conditions. I like to keep it on. That way, if the planet has super low G or very high G, it'll adjust how fast mechs can move and that sort of thing. And then, of course, you can use the hang timer. Don't need to worry too much about it. Other than that, that's your against the bot rules. You can temporarily retain the daily history log if you want, but other than that, that's a pretty quick run through of what you kind of should do, in my opinion. And you'll hit confirm, and now it'll generate your brand new company. And it's going to be fun. Once I give it a moment, anyway. There is a company. All right, so your company has nothing in it. So let's give it something very beginning. My campaign. Okay, I'm going to change the name of this because we are the Starlight Regulars. There. And now we're going to go to change force icon. Oh, change force icon because I'm a little bit crazy about this sort of thing. We're going to go to backgrounds. I'm going to select CHH because it's a nice easy color to work with on the eyes. We're going to scroll all the way down and we're going to just go pick a normal Star League symbol. Boom. So that's your start. So we are Starlight Regulars, Monday, January 1st, 3049. We are at Dragoon's rating of D40 because there's nothing here except a man with a name and a dream. We have 0 Seabills, 0 Aztecs, 0 medics, 0 people anywhere. It is all just empty. By the way, this is your Inner Sphere map. Hi, welcome. That's the clans up there. This is the rest of the Inner Sphere. And we are starting on Galatia, as you should. Did more damage to the enemy, that's right. So you will start here. You can move anywhere you want, calculate jump paths and all that, and it'll determine how long is it going to take you to get there. Total return, so 55.88 days in order to actually travel anywhere. It'll cost you X number of Seabills. Since we have nothing, we basically get to teleport. So decide where you want to go early on, and that'll make your life easy. But how do you start a brand new company? There's a few different ways to do this, and there's the way that we're going to do this. The way we're going to do it is a bit of a combination of the MekHQ rule set as well as campaign operations, which is a book that you can buy from DriveThruRPG. We are not sponsored. The MekHQ rule set is basically an easy to work with spreadsheet that tells you all of the things that you need to do in order to get a brand new company running through. We have a copy of this over on our Discord. I highly suggest that you check it out. That way it'll give you all of the information that you otherwise need in order to make this whole thing run. It'll give you various tables, various rules that you can follow and make easy. In general, your company is going to be 12 mechs and a few additional support personnel. So 12 mech warriors, 12 support personnel, plus whatever else you kind of want to throw in. But I like to throw in a little bit of a twist by adding in campaign operations. And campaign operations gives you budgets, gives you various modifiers, and is just overall a lot of fun to sort of mess with. And the main reason I do it is because it gives me a basic budget table that I can play with. So first things first, we will generate using the MekHQ rule set who is going to be in our company. So we're going to come over to company creation. And so starting company consists of 12 mech warriors and 12 support personnel. The support personnel are techs, doctors, and admins. So you're going to want 10 techs, 1 medic, and 1 admin. So let's go add in our support personnel. Right and double click. Then we'll go to Marketplace. We'll go to Hire. And then we are going to add in a medic. Oh, I want a doctor, not a medic. The terminology is a little bit across from each other, but we do want a doctor. Medics work for doctors. So add in a medic, and he is an A+ doctor. He's probably going to be terrible. I can't recruit him yet because I didn't roll my monies. Let's roll my money first. Sorry. All right, so the way you're going to do it is you're going to roll 3d8, and we're going to associate this table. You don't have to do it this way. You can give yourself whatever budget you want. If you want to select from here, you can do that. I, however, like a little bit of randomness in my life, and so I'm going to come over here. I'm going to roll 3d8. I'm going to get 6. Okay. So we're going to go over to the MekHQ. 6 is 40 million Seabills. This is a 3025 era well-funded assault battle mech lance. So we're a little bit further on than 3025, but that should be fine. So we come over here, we go to finances, we go and turn on our GM mode. Yes, 3d6. So turning on the GM mode gives us access to anything that we want to do. We're going to add funds, and we're going to say from our rich uncle, miscellaneous, and we will go 40 million Seabills. Add the funds. Cha-ching! We now have 40 million Seabills to spend in any single way. Oh, so did I say 3d8? I meant 3d6. No, 3d6, not 3d8. Make it a little bit more reasonable. So you have 40 million Seabills to spend. Okay, Marketplace. Hire Le Docteur. Oh, he's a much better doctor, and he's Scotty, so we absolutely want that. Hire him right off the bat. We then want one admin, so we go marketplace, hire, and we need to find admin in here. We want admin, we'll go admin command, sure, why not? And we will hire him as well. And then I'm going to want mech techs. So I'm going to go marketplace, hire in bulk. Types are to be mech tech, rank, none. We'll make we'll leave them none so I can change them. And then we're hiring 10 of them. If you want to give yourself an age range, you can absolutely do that. But hire, and boom. We have 10 brand new mech techs. Congratulations, welcome to the company. Quick check of our personnel. We go into support personnel. Hi everybody. Let's rank them by their skill level. So we have 3 greens. Unfortunate. Select them, change rank. You are now all recruits. My regulars. The doctor shall be a private. And my mech techs will be privates as well. And we have a single veteran mech tech, which will be quite nice for fixing all things. Make it a corporal. And you can change everything however you want. So we have the start of our company. But now we actually need some pilots. That's an engineering doctor. We need some pilots. But the MekHQ rule set has a couple of special rules for pilots. So, the first mech warrior rolled in the company is the commander and gets a +1 bonus to gunnery and piloting and gains 2 points randomly distributed amongst leadership, tactics, and strategy to set the command officer rank. So we'll come over here. Marketplace, hire a mech warrior. Oh, and we got a good one. So we hire him immediately. So we're going to come over to our commander. Going to narrow this down to mech warriors only. And we're going to change our rank. I think that any good commander is a captain at the very least. I'm also going to give them a flag as commander. That way he has now been set as the entire company commander. And we're going to go to GM mode to edit. Give him +1 to his gunnery, +1 to his piloting, which is lovely. Oh, he's going to be a deadly pilot. And then I'm going to give him a tactics and a strategy, so that he has the ability to lead and command. So, and he's also a founding member. So, he is the captain and the leader of our entire company. Hopefully he will keep us alive. He's also an elite mech warrior. We'll come back to that. MekHQ then goes on to say that the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are your starting officers, receive a +1 to gunnery or piloting. And remember, you have to keep them, if you want to play in the MekHQ rule set, you have to keep them within one of each other. So if they're even, you can select either one, but if you have piloting 5 and a gunnery 4, you must go up with gunnery in order to match them up. That's kind of how that works. So we will then go back here. Marketplace, hire, mech warriors, hire, hire, hire. So we've picked up 3 brand new mech warriors. Oh god, one of them sucks. So I'll go to GM mode, I'll go to edit, another founding member. And they need to go up to 2-2, so they're on that with piloting. And they suck. GM mode, this happens. But you need to understand that sometimes you're going to have awful, terrible people. And you also need to go up 1, so you're actually not terrible. You're actually pretty good. So this veteran is almost an elite pilot. I also need to GM mode and edit. You can have a little bit of tactics. You can have a little bit of strategy. And the last one will be whatever the 3rd one was supposed to be. And GM mode, edit. Alright, then I'm going to change the ranks. They all need to be officers because they are your starting units. So I'll make them all Lieutenant JG. You can be a Lieutenant Senior Grade because you are the Lieutenant Senior Grade because you're the veteran. So, there we go. We have our first starting groups of mech warriors. Alright, so after rolling all mech warriors, you must assign bonus special abilities to them. Veteran elite mech warriors, each veteran gains 1 bonus ability. Elites gain 2 bonus abilities that are rolled above and beyond what MekHQ does. When you naturally earn these ranks throughout the game, it will automatically do that for you, but for some reason it's not doing that here, but it's not the worst thing in the world. So we will go through and do that. However, we have 4. We're going to build an entire company of 12 mech warriors. So we're going to go market, going to go hire in bulk, mech warriors, rank none, and I need 8 more, please. Boom. All right, and I'm just going to sort them by their skill level and select you guys. I'm going to change you to recruits, and you guys I'm gonna change you to privates, and you're another, and you get to be a corporal. If you want to be someone who makes all of your mech warriors officers, you can do that however you desire it. So we've got them all set up there. Now we do have a number of elites. Well, we have a single elite, 2 veterans. Oh wow. You came to the table with a lot of cool stuff. So our elite and one of our veterans did not get anything to start with, but for some reason Yotaro started with 2 special abilities. He's got gunnery specialization energy, which gives him -1 accuracy with energy weapons and +1 accuracy with everything else. And that's a good thing. You want to have minuses on your additives, because this is the target number, and we want to reduce that as low as possible so that when we roll our 2d6 to do anything, that we can roll over that number. That's sort of how that works. So he doesn't need anything. He's got just really cool stuff. Our captain, on the other hand, needs 2 special abilities because he is elite. So we're going to go and roll 2 d10s and consult the Mukai chart, which is this thing here, which is gorgeous. We could put everybody in mechs first in order to meet all the prerequisites, which sure, we'll do that just to make sure that we get everything set up. So one very, 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 very important thing that the game does not tell you anywhere that I've found, but is critical to the difficulty of the game, is the following information. A light lance is 130 tons. A medium lance is 200 tons, a heavy lance 280, and an assault lance is 380. If you try and make a medium lance and you have 210 tons, it will think that you've created a heavy lance, and it will give you opposition based on a heavy lance. So stay within these limits. Otherwise, the game is going to punish you hard. So you're going to want to be very careful and very intelligent as to how you're going to sort through who gets what stuff. But yeah, always remember these numbers. This is currently pinned in our MechHQ OOC section. Check all the pins there. This information will be there in case you forget it, because these numbers are very important if you're not going to be playing with GM'd opposition. We often play with GM'd opposition in my group, so that's not necessarily a problem, but if you're just trying to run straight against a bot, it's a nightmare if you forget that at any point. So we're going to add 3 mech lances. We're going to add new force. We go Alpha Lance. That up. Add new force. Bravo Lance. New force. And Charlie Lance. And these will be our mech lances. In general, I like an assault, a heavy, assault, a cavalry, and a scout unit. The assault just to have big, heavy guns on the field. The cavalry because I like nimble little things, and everybody needs a little bit of a scout light lance. So, recognizing that we have 300 tons to play with, we're going to try and build that, or well, these tonnage levels to play with. We're going to try and build that. We also have 39,944,120 C-bills that you can't actually see because it's underneath the little playing now thing. I will hide that for just a moment so you know what I'm talking about, but I'll bring it back because that's very important. So this is your Dragoons rating, which tells you how good your company is, how much money you have, how many Aztecs, and how many medics you're currently carrying along. By the way, at some point you're going to want to go Aztec pool, bring all Aztec teams to full strength. And medic pool, bring all medical teams to full strength. So 4 medics, 60 Aztecs. Aztecs are just laborers. They're not skilled at all in any way, so you don't need to worry about them. Hover over the tonnage in each lance top box gives the brackets too. Really? Oh my god, thank you. I had no idea that was a thing. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so there is an in-game way of actually viewing that, because I used to go batty trying to remember what those numbers were. Alright, we can work with that. That is a lifesaver. Thank you so much, Spirits. I'm going to want something big, heavy. Oh, you can do a couple of different things. If you come over to... where is it? Show GM's tool, which you can do. You have a built-in dice roller, which you can use for whatever you want. So it's a random number generator setup, but 2d6 rolls. If you're GMing a game, you can just have this on the side. That way you can say, oh, I'm going to need this check, or I need to make this check against you, and you just roll real quick, gives you a fast result. The rat roller is going to add in various mechs. You can use this to discover which mechs that you're going to get based on whatever template you want to use. If you want to only get mechs that would be available to the Rosselhog Republic, you can do that, or the Rosselhog Dominion, I guess it is right now. You can determine their quality. F is good, A is bad, F is fine, A is abysmal. And then, what do you want? Do you want mechs, tanks, battle armor, infantry, small craft, drop ships? And of what weight class do you want to play with? This is a really easy way of being able to basically summon up a company almost immediately. You roll a rat, figure out whatever you want. When it finally shows up something you want, add random unit. And that's how that'll end up working. Since we're going to be using a cash system, we're going to be using the purchase option. I generally don't recommend using the purchase unit option in any space other than when you're generating your company, because it's too easy at that point. So we have sorted by chassis, so it'll keep everybody grouped together, and by tonnage. This is cool. So my origin story, I can't fit it. How do you bring up this rat roller? You go to Manage Campaign, and then Show GM Tools Dialog, and then that'll bring it up. So now you have the random dice roller up here for whatever you need, and the rat roller down here, and you select your various options. What faction is it going to come from? How good is it? What type of unit it is, mechs, VTOLs, and all that, and how heavy is it? You can also set your year. So if you want to roll up things that are only available in 3048, so put in 3048, and that way it'll all be set up. If you want to change that to 3031 or whatever, it'll bring up an appropriate unit. Now, where it's bringing that from, more or less, is this. This is the master unit list. You should have two things, at least, on your, well, possibly three, on your web browser while you're building a company. One is Sarna, which is the greatest wiki that has ever been designed ever, and contains pretty much all of the fluff information that you're ever going to want. Battletechs, aerospace fighters, factions, timelines, everything you're going to need is here in order to come up with a cool and interesting story. The master unit list contains all of the factions, all of the mechs, and when they're available. Let's say I want to have a Draconis Combine mech from the late Succession War, which is the period we're fighting in. There's 148 battle mechs, 155 combat vehicles, 80 aerospace fighters, 1 infantry unit, support vehicles, naval vessels, advanced aerospace, advanced support, and advanced buildings. This is everything that's available to you. You can now use this if you want to search through. The rat roller will roll off of one of these tiles. It doesn't query it automatically, but it has this on it. So you're going to use this. You can use this in order to figure out what's available to you if you want to do a faction-themed thing or an era-themed thing. That way you can keep yourself in, or you can just use this. And the purchase menu, if you have the right options selected, which we did select, so we're bracketing only tech that's available, and we've removed all extinct units from the list. So this should only be units that will show up. And this is all the battle mechs that are available in 3049 to the inner sphere. So you have a grand amount of options available to you. So I like to sort by chassis and then by weight top to bottom, and that way you can see them however you want. It'll be hard or impossible to get your hands on some of this equipment. Like if I want a Kiso, I need to roll a 10. If I want a King Crab, it's an 11. Imps are 13, which is literally impossible. Atlases are 11s to us. Riflemen's or Ymirs are 13. The Rifleman 3 is a 13. Depending on how rare it is, it's going to depend on how easy it is to find. Orion's much easier to find, 9+. Does mech only mean battle mech, or does it include agri-mechs? It includes all mechs, so there are agri-mechs in here as well. So here's the Kiso construction mech. It is available. You can get your hands on it. It's not anything special. I can get a Loadmaster if I want. So yeah, the Powerman Loadmasters, they're all here. So it's every mech is available to you in this list. You can then change that by weight class, which if you scroll all the way up gives you your classic light, medium, heavy assault. If you're dealing with other things such as dropships, you can sort by all of them, or you can just leave it on all and do whatever makes you feel happy. But again, never forget the lance weights. Very important. You said the Orion is 9+. How can you see that? So if you look at the bottom down here, you'll see the target number by TN 6+. So this is taking based on whatever you set as your procurement. So we have it set to administration, It's taking our only administrator, who we did add to the company early on, and it's querying, okay, you have what in administration, and now depending on how rare the mech is, where you are, the faction that it belongs to, and that sort of thing, what is added onto your number in order to generate a target number that you need to roll 2d6 in order to beat. So for the Power Man, it's super common, and I imagine we have like a 6 or something, or maybe a 7 plus for our administrative skill. So he then needs to roll 2d6 in order to get that. So, all right, yeah, if you actually hover over it, it outlines it. So his skill is 8, which makes him green. The difficulty is -1, which is good because it's an industrial mech, -1 because it's a light, and plus 0 because of the air limitation. So, you misread that? Yeah. If you wanted to get our hands on a Mackie, be a 13 because it is +3 for an assault and +2 for availability, which is bad. It's a +5. So we literally can't get our hands on that. But since this is the very beginning, we're going to cheat, and we're going to be using the AdGM command. I want our commander to be in something classic, something terrifying, so I'm going to add an Atlas. Now, another thing that I'm going to do, because I'm being a little bit harsh on myself, is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to bring up a notepad. And this notepad is going to contain all of the information that I'm going to be buying from this stuff. Or I could use the calculator. So Atlas AS7-D and minus 9,626,000. That's the price of this Atlas, because we're going to be removing from these funds. Finances, add funds, just like we did before. We're going to go unit purchases, and then I'm going to pull this off to the side so I can not have to constantly bring it back. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to copy this. So we're going to, did I do that right, or did I do it backwards? I did it right, okay. So unit purchases, Atlas AS7D cost us 99,626,000 C-bills on the debit, and that has reduced by our thing. So suddenly we are way in the hole on this one. So building an assault lance is going to be expensive. Hello, Belrek. Next mech up, purchase unit, we're going to pay, so we're down to 3 million C-bills. What does a man do when he needs to make more than that? We get ourselves a loan. I need a little bit more than that. 20 million C-bills ought to be good. The annual interest is 15% with a collateral of 40. That'll mean if we default on a loan, we'll have to give up quite a bit. Length is 2 years because that's the most we can do. Monthly payments, it should be fine. And let's see, what's my monthly payment on this one? About total interest. So we're going to be paying about 3 million extra in interest, and have to pay out about $1 million in installments. First payment is March, so in a few months. So we'll add that loan to our balance, and now we're in debt. So this hurts our Dragoon's rating, but by the time things actually start getting rolling, we should actually be able to handle this without too much trouble. In fact, we could probably pay back the loan a little bit early, hoping things go well. So we'll then go back to the marketplace, and we shall purchase unit, or no, we shall go to the unit market, because we did notice that these were fairly cheap. We're just going to check our numbers real quick. So a medium is 200 tons. Purchase unit. God, I keep going to the wrong one. The market. And we'll game it out first using our calculator. So we would be doing a Hermes, which weighs 40 tons. That's good. Plus the Phoenix Hawk, which is 45. Plus the Trebuchet, which is 50. Because you have to 135 tons. Merc Gray. Alright, so we have a company already set up, ready to pretty much rock and roll. However, we do need to come back to our personnel because there was something special about elites and veterans. So elites get 2 extra skills on the Mukai list, shown here, and veterans get 1. And in order to apply, they need to be in a specific type of mech. So we're going to come over here to our dice, and we're going to clear all these out. We're going to roll 2d10. So this will be the first for our elite. So he got a 57. We come to Mukai. We find that 57 is single weapon specialist. Needs a mech with a weaponry. So that'll be pretty fun. So back to here. Come to our elite mech warrior. And we will go to, we should put him in the awesome. That would actually be incredibly good with him. We're going to reassign things a little bit with that knowledge. So you are going to be assigned to unit as none. You're assigned to unit as pilot as awesome, and you can be, oh, you can be in the Atlas. Because what we now have, we go to GM mode, we go to edit, we go to abilities, and he has a weapons specialist. So we'll find on here PPC. Navigating this list is a nightmare. Gotta go higher up. I have no idea how to navigate this list properly. Becomes absolutely insane. But somewhere in here, there it is, PPC. So he's a weapon specialist PPC. And then he has a second ability that he also gets because he's elite. So we come back to our dice roller. And 55. Well, I don't think you can have the same ability at the same time. You can only have one weapon specialty, so we have to reroll. 72. Come back to our Bunkai list. We find that 72 is ballistic specialist. He can't have it because he's already got a weapon specialization. Sometimes you need to roll many times. 81. Let's see what we got. Missile specialist. Oh, come on, you're gonna have to do better than that. 108. Actually, no, this would be 18. Trying to remember how to read hundreds when rolling 2d10. So 18 is Iron Man. We can give him that. Game mode, edit, abilities, and he gets Iron Man. So Iron Man receives only one pilot hit from ammunition explosions. Make him a little bit more survivable should his mech ever get ammunition, which he probably won't have. So that's him. On to our next pilot, who already has gunnery specialization energy, which is beautiful, by the way. The fact that he randomed that up makes me very happy. Oh, don't need that. Roll these. With a 19, that'll be Iron Man again, I believe. Yes, it is. GM mode, edit, abilities, Iron Man. Okay. And our last veteran will also get to roll, and they will be rolling fully open on the table. 13, which I believe is Iron Man again, which kind of feels unfortunate. It is, okay. But that'll sort through all of our veterans and elites for the special abilities that they're required to get. All right, so we have 8.7 million C-bills left to pay, and we're going to need spare parts, because depending on the mission that we pick up, we're going to need to buy a whole bunch of extra additional pieces of equipment that we can then put into the company, keep it running. So one of the things you can do, and one of the things I have done in the past, and I'm not going to do it here, but one of the things you can do in order to make this process easier, is you go through every single mech that you have, you group them by tonnages, try and figure out all of the similarities, and then you add in all of the weapons and figure out how many additionals that you need. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do. We're not going to do that right now. What we are going to do, though, I'll just skip doing the repair bay, but what you would end up doing if you were to do this properly is you go to purchase parts, and then you would pick up additional mech heads, mech front arms, left arms, every single piece of mechs in order to get spare parts for them in the event of a mission. That takes a while, far longer than we have here, and it would be incredibly boring. And I understand this is not the most hopping thing ever. So let's go into the part that a lot of people need a little bit of extra help on. And that is, how do I get started with actually fighting and the bang bang boom? And so the answer to that question becomes, you go to your contract market. Now, there's a couple of contracts nearby. One is a recon raid, one is guerrilla warfare. This will tell you sort of restrictions on what you need to get. So your contract name, you're going to want to rename these because otherwise it'll show up as that, and that's nearly pointless to work with. It'll show you who you're working for, the Draconis Combine, who you're fighting against, the Federated Commonwealth. The mission type is a recon raid. So you'll be expected to go out, raid the enemy, need to keep a certain number of lances engaged, and you will have very little access to supplies, which can suck a little bit. Makes it a little bit, by a little bit I mean quite a bit, difficult. The location is going to be on Eden, so what we would do is we would then type in Eden, and we would calculate a jump path to that one. Oh, I have to hit enter. So Eden, enter, calculate jump path. So Eden is 35 days away. So we would get there in early February. We have until March in order to actually get things started so we can start paying back our loan. And the overall payout of that would be 3 million C-bills. We're in debt by 10 million C-bills. So we would need to find another contract pretty gosh darn quick. It would take us 36 days to get to the location, which is 4 jumps. Ally rating is regular F, which is good. The enemy rating is regular D, which is not so good. So it would be a nice, easy contract. The start date will change. It'll be whenever it'll take you to get there. The contract will last a single month, and then we'll be done with it. We will be paid overhead in full. Command rights will be house, so there's different types of command rights, which will give you control over various units that are nearby with you. I believe house gives you full control over allied units, which they give with you. But in general, being autonomous is generally preferred. A liaison will add a random, generally a very light mech, to join you on your mission that basically runs around and does all but nothing and then dies. But if you keep them alive, it's better. We're required to keep 2 lances on full, so 2 lances must be assigned to some sort of battle formation. That was that fight, defend, scout, and training option that was there that would alter the likelihood of us fighting. And we will be so they will pay 45% of our transfer costs. We will be allowed to keep 10% of what we destroy. So every mission, at the end of the mission, all of the stuff that is still on the field, if you control the field, so if you hold the field of battle at the end of a mission, you can salvage all the stuff on the field. Well, they'll only let us keep 10% of that. That's really terrible. They will offer 60% support for our various supply needs. They will not pay us anything if we lose parts. So battle loss compensation, if an arm gets blown off, they're not going to pay for any of that. We have to pay for all that. So this is a terrible contract, at least in my opinion. Are they going to give me a bonus on this at all? So yeah, they're not going to give us any signing bonus. They have no interest in us whatsoever, and we're estimated to make negative 708,000 C-bills by this, just based on estimated chances of us losing parts and needing repairs and all that sort of thing. We can then sell parts and ransom prisoners once the mission is done, but this is a really terrible mission. The Federated Commonwealth is offering a completely opposite end of things. Darius must have negotiated this, exactly. They want us to do guerrilla warfare, which is another raid type mission, and it'll be on Nirasaki, which is 52 days away, 4 jumps, so we would be into March by that point, having to already start making our paybacks. Our allies are not so good, but our enemies are slightly worse, because again, remember, F is fine, A is abysmal, so D is better than C in this. Start date is whenever we show up. This contract will last 6 months, and they will pay us 13 million, well, almost 14 million C-bills on this one. We're estimated to make 9.9 million C-bills. They're offering us no signing bonus with a monthly payment. Yeah, total monthly estimate is 9 million C-bills. Like, we're gonna make money hand over fist on this. Holy crap. They're offering us 80% salvage rights, no straight support, no battle loss compensation, but I mean, this seems like a much better contract. So we're going to go keep it as FC for Federated Commonwealth. And then we'll go 001. And we'll call it Guerrilla. Yeah, I missed an R. Warfare. That way we can keep track of it. So now, if we weren't satisfied with any of these offerings, because it's the very first mission, I wholly recommend use the generate GM, and it'll just keep generating contracts that you can pick or not pick, as the case may be. Hey, Comstar wants us to fight, so we'll accept the one that came up earlier. So our guerrilla warfare one, we'll be working with the Federated Commonwealth, which I like, so we'll accept that. So now we close that. What is this? Oh, I didn't realize this was here. So yeah. HPG networks, ISW areas. You can alter some of what the map shows. HPG network, show me that. Oh, that's really cool. This was not here the last time I played. You don't even have to show their factions. Technology ratings, so who has what level of technology, where to find industry, raw materials, output, agriculture. If we're trying to figure out where you want to be. But we'll keep it on faction for now. So we need to go, according to our briefing, we're required to go to Nirasaki. Go to interstellar map. And this is important when you type in Nirasaki, hit enter. And that'll bring you over. I wonder if there's a Battletech Guerrilla Warfare copy plus the food. We will then calculate our jump path. This will take us 51 days and cost us 1.7 million Seabills. We're already in debt. We're going to be more in debt. By the way, we were paid an upfront amount. If we go to our finances, scroll all the way down. Advanced monies for FC001 Guerrilla Warfare. They paid us 3.5 million Seabills. So that'll be a nice little boon. Since we're paying about 1 million Seabills per month on our loan anyway, that'll cover us for 3 months. So when we arrive in March, things will be fine. So we go to the interstellar map. We're going to now click Begin Transit. So in transit to Nirasaki on planet, it's going to take us 51 days. So we can either just keep clicking Advanced Day, Advanced Day, Advanced Day, or we can do something else. But first, I almost forgot. Go to your lances, add tech to force, add a mech tech. We have our veteran mech tech will work on this. Bravo. Really what you actually want to do is you want to make all your mech maintenance worked on by one terrible dude. But in this case, we're going to spread the love. And this is the mech this is the tech who's going to be running all of the maintenance on these mechs. So now if we go into our hangar, the tech crew who is assigned to it, they're running the maintenance every single time it comes up, which is very important. And then we are going to assign by force. So Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. Some of the mechs have little extra icons that I added in. You can adjust this game to various pictures that you want to have in there. Cool. All right, so this is going to take us 51 days. We're going to go to Manage Campaign. We're going to advance multiple days because we just want to travel. Now, it'll probably show up like this in this super narrow thing. I don't know why it does it, but hey, all you need to do is expand it outwards. We want to advance 51 days. Start our advancement. And here it'll give you a log of everything that happened during that time period, if you're really interested. Now, we're not yet on Nirasaki, as far as I know. The start time is the 22nd. No, we're not. Okay, so the start time will be when we arrive, which is already calculated. So we're not going to actually show up on Nirasaki until tomorrow, so we'll click Advanced Day, and we're now here. And you'll notice deployment requirements, FC001 Guerrilla Warfare has come up. And that'll be 0 and 2. One of them must be set to fight. So we'll go down here. Are the role assigned? We'll click on that. You're set to fight, and that fills our first requirement. Charlie Lance is a light lance. We're going to set them to scout. And then Bravo Lance, we shall also fight. We'll set them to scout as well. That way, no, I want them to fight. I want them to fight. So now we have our units all assigned to the mission that we're doing. So everybody has a role that they're playing, which is great. So you're now on your planet. You're now all set up. Well, now what do you do? Well, nothing's going to happen because nothing happens until Monday. Monday is the start of the week. Monday is when everything gets rocking and rolling. You'll notice personnel market has changed. Click on this. Hey, there's an aerospace pilot if you want to hire them. You can either click on them through that or you go to Marketplace Personnel Market and they'll show up right here. That's a decently skilled pilot. We could hire him, but we don't have aerospace fighters anyway, so we don't care about him. So we have no interest in that. However, stand-up attacker, resolution pending, and the date is March the 1st. So the first day we have to pay back. This is going to be for, if you look, Alpha Lance Starlight Irregulars. So our company commander in Alpha Lance, Captain Sheila Cow, oh, no, it's a her, I always thought it was him, is going to be going up against some form of the enemy in a stand-up attacker. Now you can open all these to figure out exactly what it is you're fighting, and you'll notice because we said that infantry were totally valid to be added into the game, there's foot platoons and a motorized laser platoon, which will be fun. There's a lot of heavy metal coming down our way. This is honestly a little bit overkill. Although the reason why it's all that force is because we are a bit of a light assault lance. Let's change that a little bit. After all, we don't want to be so undergunned. We're supposed to be 380 tons and we're just not there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to purchase unit, and I'm going to go add some tanks, because I think we can add some tanks in. A pair of 40 tonners wouldn't go terrible. And hey, the Hetzer wheeled assault gun is 40 tons. That seems a bit perfect for me. So we're going to sort by chassis. We're going to go to the standard Hetzer. And the reason why? It's got an AC-20. So I'm going to buy that right now. Or am I not allowed to yet? I'm going to add it in GM. Hangar. Tank. Oh no, there's our hands. Yeah, and you'll notice the one that we bought, they found it, and it's in transit. And the reason why that didn't show up is because I did not have this set up to log it, but that's okay. So let's go. File, campaign options, miscellaneous, temporarily retain the data log, confirm. So it'll be here in 4 days because our administrator rolled. He rolled that he was able to find it, and then he rolled for it was going to be 2d6 plus 0, so he rolled 4. In 4 days, this Hetzer will show up, which is just in perfect time to show up for our battle. What we do need to go is we need to hire to full complement. That'll buy a vehicle crew for it, so it's all ready to go. And we will add unit. No, it's in the TOD. We go to add unit, tank, medium, Hetzer. So we'll need to assign a tech manually because the normal tech, Tammy Kim, is a mech tech and not a vehicle tech. And in 4 days, yes, just for the purpose, you're going to want to put somebody on there. By the way, at the start of every month, your contracts will update. If you're on a contract, there's less of a chance of it to show up, and the unit market will change. So if I look at this, you'll notice Stalkers and Banshees and Riflemen are now here. Show me aerospace fighters. Could pick up a Lightning, that'd be pretty nice. Show vehicles, see if a Hetzer has shown up. It has not. Oh, we could pick up a Saladin. It's on a mercenary auction. It's a little bit higher than normal, but we're going to purchase it anyway. So we can add it to the company. Go to Hangar. Go to our Saladin. And we will customize. We will hire to full complement. And then we will add unit tank. There we go. So now we have a Hetzer and a Saladin to help support our unit. We're now up to 390 tons, which is kind of a little bit heavier than we should be, but I believe we're still considered an assault lance. Pick up a Salad Shooter? Exactly. So the Saladin is now in. I'm actually going to change the force icon because I'm that level. So assault, formations. We are now an augmented lance. Adjustments, no adjustments needed. Alphanumerics, A-low, backgrounds. Federated Suns. Bang. Oh, I forgot the HQ, but who cares? So that is our augmented lance. We're now going to go to the stand-up attacker. We are totally going to get annihilated, but that's okay. I could change the weather and see if we could get explosives, but that's... We can change the wooded to, sure, wetlands, swamp. That should work out fine. And then you hit start game. And the reason why we were able to do that is because our commander has a level in tactics or strategy or something. And that allows him to re-roll various things. So you select what you want and you can re-roll it. You can get quite a few re-rolls, which allow you to change the battlefield to your preference. So the scenario is a stand-up attacker, which means that we must destroy 50% of enemy forces while keeping more than 50% of ours operational. The weather is going to be clear, moderate gale, which is going to affect LRMs a little bit. It's going to be nice bright daylight, so no negatives on that one. The map is going to be 40 hexes by 30 hexes. It's going to be the wetlands terrain, and more specifically, a swamp. And then you hit start game, you hit OK, and you wait for it's then going to launch a copy of MegaMek, which is now associated with it, and it's going to fill it with your company. Now it's going to fill it. This assassin is with us. It's on Federated Commonwealth. It's in red, which is a little confusing. And there's so many light mechs. Look at all of them. God, the enemy force is huge. Is that not gorgeous? So, personally, I like to customize things just a little bit further. I'm going to come in here, going to change his camo. And the map is going to be random. If you wanted to mess a little bit more in detail, you could come into our select maps. You could set specific items. We're not going to do that because this is supposed to be sort of an example of against the bot. And this is how you do against the bot. So, we're going to go to game options. We're going to go to victory conditions. And the mission is to destroy 50% of all PPV. If we win or lose, it's just going to be 50%. So it's going to be our small force against their massive force, but we don't need to kill all of them, just half of them. And we're assault mechs, and they're not. And we have a pilot who can honestly rickroll most of these people. So once you're all set up with your victory conditions set in, you hit I'm done, transmits the game data, and it brings you to initiative phase for deployment. And at this point, you will now just play a standard game of MechHQ, or MegaMek as the case may be. So you have all of your random information that'll come up. You got your minimap here. You've got your more specific tiles there. One thing that'll happen to you if this is your first time playing is suddenly it'll start screaming at you very loudly. Go to, God, it's not game options. Go to client settings and mute sound. Trust me, you're gonna want to mute the sound because the bell sound that it uses is the most annoying thing in the world. So click mute sound, click update, you'll be done, you'll be good, and you'll rock and roll. And now you're fighting your standard battle tech. So we'll take our Atlas, we'll put him right there. We'll back him up with our Awesome, who is awesome. Oh, also, we're going to view isometric so we can see the terrain. You'll notice that now bumps that out so you don't just have to rely on, oh, this is level 1, this is level 0. Now it actually is a little bit more obvious. So we're up on a little bit of a high ground, which is great. So Awesome right there. Wait for them to go. Flashman right there, a little bit in the back. He doesn't need to be. Hetzer is going to have some hard time closing with the enemy, but that's okay. We'll make it work. And finally, or not finally, but we'll put our salad in there. Back of a Vulcan will probably rip it apart. Let's do that. Last round of being super extra crispy. Then we need to drop one of them. Target that dragon. Actually, no. How good is your armor at this point? I don't care about the Vedette. God. True criticals. That center torso man is holding on, but it's kind of hilarious. Okay, we're gonna go small flash. Just the medium lasers. And the flamer. Because the flamer has a high chance of critic. And you are just gonna fire everything you've got. You're not gonna kill anything, but who cares? 11? Sure, why not? You've hit that before. Oh, Flashman gets hit in the head. Oh, so they're going for all the heads. BPC and the Vulcan hit, and hit. He's down to 0 armor on several locations, but he's not down. Flashman taking even more hits. The Flashman lit off the ammunition. That's what I was hoping for with all the lasers. So we finally killed the Grand Dragon. It's been put down because we set off his ammunition with our medium lasers. So that's beautiful. Ostrak taking some internal damage because it has problems. The Ostrak actually did manage to hit the Wasp. Wow, I blew it apart. Good job, Ostrak. I don't know if you'll... And the Flashman stayed on his feet. The Vulcan went down after taking 3 PPC hits to the back. And the Awesome is going to turn and punch. So Locust kicked the Ostrak. The Oscout just kicked my Awesome, but my Awesome then turned around and punched him in the head for 8 damage. He has 1 structure remaining. I don't know if he wants to stay there, but with that, we've destroyed 55%, and so now the enemy is more or less done for. So we do not need to save a salvage file of this. If you want to, for extra safekeeping, you can, but we're not going to because it's going to automatically carry it over. We then hit done. Did your side control the inner battlefield? Well, observations, winner controls battlefield after the battle. We control it after 55% destruction, so yes, we did. So that's beautiful, actually. We did lose an Atlas to do it, which sucks, but we'll be able to get that Atlas back. It's inoperable, but it's recoverable, so we can fix that head. The Saladin, on the other hand, is just in pieces. It did a good job. It blew up an SRM-6 carrier, which was very useful, but other than that, not really there anymore. The Ostrak, it says undamaged, but that's a lie. And the Awesome is undamaged. Took basically no hits. It got kicked in the shins and then almost killed another one. So we then look, we lost the Assassin. We did not. So this is the support units. The Assassins hung back and didn't die, so that's great. Unfortunately, Fabia Rodriguez is dead. If you were playing with human players, generally what I would do is you just unclick it, taking 5 injuries. But in this case, since it's all just against the bot people, keep them dead, find a new pilot. You're gonna have to hire someone new. And of course, Sanchez is dead. So if your name started with F, well, we need to press F for respects. Salad and Assault, some of the gunners actually survived, so that's pretty good. And the Flashman took a hit as well, but came out of that one alive. Now we have a maximum of 80% salvage, and one of the biggest places we're going to earn our money is in salvage. Now you'll notice a whole bunch of the units did escape. They weren't very badly damaged at all, so they were able to run away when the battle suddenly went bad. We can grab things. We'll grab the Javelin, and I would like anything that's crippled or inoperable. We could pick up some infantry. That would allow us to have some pretty significant infantry elements, because the infantry could not escape. So that works out quite nicely. And then the rest is just salvage, which I can take and sell. Not for much, but I can sell the salvage. So I will actually grab pretty much everything. Well, almost everything, because I don't want to go too high. Alright, so we picked a whole bunch of stuff, and then we captured a whole bunch of people as well. So these will all be prisoners added to us, the survivors here, which is grand. It's then going to ask you, who did everybody kill? And sometimes the game doesn't know who killed what, because on occasion the game will say, he died to an ammunition explosion after falling down, who gets points for that? And so you have to go in and then tell the game, no, this is the person who actually was the one who killed him. So the only one they're confused about is that foot platoon, because we did capture it, and they weren't actually dead. But that foot platoon, we're going to go handle over to... the Ostrak was the one I think who probably fired the most large lasers over him. Try and remember if you can. And they'll give you a final report. You can actually write in here, so... Lost Atlas, but had fun. Smiley face emoji. You can write whatever you want in there. It is a victory. If you failed, you're going to have to change that, but it was a solid victory in our favor. We finished that. And because 2 people have died, they get payouts. So these people get money for having died. You can trade them, and you can give them, you know, vehicles and mechs and that sort of thing. But we're not going to. So we're just going to pay them out with the 70,000 in death benefits, 50,000 to the mech warrior, 20,000 to the vehicle gunner, and we'll hit OK. Disconnected from the server, that's fine. It'll automatically close away. And now the stand-up attacker mission has concluded in a victory. And there's our little Lost Atlas, but had fun. And that's pretty much it on how to play this game. You'll then just advance the day, go through. At the end of a contract, you'll just come to their marketplace, you go to your contract market. If there's nothing here, I mean, feel free to generate something. There's always a war happening. So if you're feeling especially generous to yourself, you can generate contracts until you find something you enjoy. Purpose of the journey with the Atlas book. So yeah, that's about how to get started in MechHQ. Oh, one more thing. Repair. So we have no parts because I didn't bother going through, so I'm just going to acquire all of this instantly. A lot of AC-20 ammo. A lot of AC-20 ammo, hopefully. A lot of LRM ammo. Apparently I can't get that instantly, but that's not a problem. Interesting and odd. The fact that I don't have anybody who can pick it up. Oh, this part is currently not available to your unit. Yeah, because we're on a guerrilla raid, so we can't get even ammunition in. So that makes life even more difficult, so we have to salvage it off of things like this. So we come over here, we look at these AC-20 ammo bins. Now I have no mechanics, but I can make my mechs do this. If you decide that you believe that you should be somewhere else, you can change the site. In the field is a difficult thing, it's a +2. Field workshop gives you a +1. Transport bay is a +0 to repairs. And if you go to a maintenance facility, -2. And if for some reason you're actually on a factory world and you need to fix stuff, well, that's a -4. And that makes life very, very easy. It's a bit of an honor system on this one. You're gonna have to use it reasonably, decide where you think things should actually be. What I normally do when I build a company is I will then go into tanks, and there is a vehicle called the Paramour, which is a mobile repair vehicle. I generally add a couple of these, and I consider that any unit that the Paramour is working on is in a field workshop because it's designed for this sort of thing, or if they have access to a forward operating base or that sort of thing. But what you'll do when you come into this, I'll change this so we're looking at a mech. You'll come in here, you have all of your techs, and you can see this veteran tech has a 5 for his mech tech. He has a -2 for difficulty, +2 because it's in the field, and +2 because of the era. So that'll give him a full 7. So he'll do the task, and you'll notice each mech tech has a various amount of time that they have to spend on things. This is per day. It will reset every day that you do it. If the job that you've asked them to do won't be finished on the day that you've asked them to do it, it'll just continue in perpetuity. One trap that you must be aware of is when you set a pilot to do maintenance on a mech. So we come over to our hangar and we say, need to look at my mechs. Right click on it, assign tech. This is the tech who will do repairs on it. Depending on the size of the mech will depend how long does it take to do those repairs. If you give a mech tech like a super long repair job, if they need to spend, I don't know, 200 minutes repairing the fusion engine on this mech, but you give them a job, all of the maintenance jobs, so they have 10 or even 0 minutes in the day to work on it, this will never finish. So you have to be aware of that. The game doesn't stop you from doing that. Same thing with mech refits. If you ever at any point think that, hey, I think that I can adjust this mech in ways that I like better, you can either go customize and choose a refit kit, and these are the canon ones that you'll be already easily built, and you can change them over. Actually, that's not terrible. What do I have? I kind of want this one because it's twin large laser on a 40-tonner. Or you can do the even more severe thing, and you can come over here to customize, and you customize the mech lab. It'll bring you over to your mech lab tab, and now you can mess around with it in any way that you want. Change fluffs, alter previews, do cool things with it. Make it look cool. Build mechs your way. You don't have to worry about things like hard points. You can change out a whole bunch of equipment. This customization is a big deal to a lot of us who play this game, although there are also a lot of people who believe that they would much rather play with stock only. By the way, awesomes are awesome, so always use them. So I think I've gone through how to set up, how to get started, where to play, and how to play this game. If you have any questions for the YouTube people, because I will be editing this down and chopping most of that battle up until it's just like 2 or 3 small things that show up. If you have any questions, you can either join us on our Discord, check down below. You'll notice a couple of Urban like the one on my t-shirt, our little Irby. If you check down below, you can join our Discord and you can ask any questions that you have. We have a couple of people who are actually really well versed in Battletech and some who are versed in MechHQ, and I do my best to try and learn as much as I can about this to do it properly. If we can't find you an answer, we can direct you to where you probably can find one. Sometimes the answer is there is no good answer for it. There's quirks and equipment that doesn't do anything in game yet. This game is constantly being updated and improved over the course of the time. As you saw, the snapshot, the most recent one was like just 20-something days ago or something like that, or a month or so ago. They're constantly working on improving and making the game more and more complete with everything. So if you ever really wanted to run your own merc company, this is the way to do it. One thing I didn't touch on, because it is rather complicated, but one thing I like to do is I like to use the special rules for operating expenses. I like to use the special rules for obtaining jump ships in this game. So this is again from the campaign operations. If you come over here, they have a great guide on how to get your hands on jump ships on page 17. Yeah, how to acquire large spacecraft. So on page 17, I basically follow this guide to the letter when determining now how I get a jump ship or a drop ship when I play personal games on this one. We don't have access to this one in our normal game, but basically you take for a dropship, you take the cost in C-bills and you divide by 50 million and round up to the nearest whole number, and then you add 5. Depending on how rare it is, if it has like special unique things, that will alter the check to see how easy it is. Depending on your era, that'll change how easy it is to get your hands on it. You basically say in advance, I think I want this dropship. If I can't get this dropship, I want this dropship. And if I can't get this dropship, I want this dropship. And then you roll for each one of those. If you fail on all 3, you don't get a dropship, and you're stuck renting and hitching a ride, which the game helpfully will set up for you. It'll allow you to hitch rides with other things. If you can't carry all of the random supplies and stuff that you drag along in your company, as your warehouse grows and grows, as you start buying more and more things, if it can't keep up with all this, then you'll have to hire additional stuff, and it'll do that for you. And it'll tell you how much how many tons you can transport and how many mechs are not transported if in this overview tab. It's very useful. Cargo capacity and usage is kind of where I go into. Your hangar breakdown will tell you all of your stuff that you have, parts in use. This will give you a list of all of the things that you're actively using. And so then you can come in, so it's a little bit easier to select all of the spare parts that you need to buy in order to keep your company running. And finally, your unit rating, which tells you why your unit rating is what it is in numbers. But again, if you have any questions, leave them in a comment down below. I will do my best to answer what I can, but it would be easier if you just join our Discord, hang out with us. There will be a link down below in the doobly-doo, as they call it, and for the people on Twitch, next to all of the urban mechs. One will take you where they're going. My first thought was Grand Theft Dropship. Hey, if you want to run a custom mission to do that, the game will let you do that. Like, if I come in here and I say that I want to add a scenario, scenarios are what we just ran, one of those missions. So missions are the contract in general. Scenarios are the small thing. Click add loot, and I want to add a unit, and we are going to capture ourselves a dropship. And we're going to capture ourselves, because we're special, we're going to grab ourselves an Overlord dropship, and we're going to add that. And if we win this mission, we'll get an Overlord dropship. And this is how I ran Operation Thunderclap, is I set things up in advance with my own scenarios and that sort of thing. But you don't need any of that if you're just playing against the bot. If you want to create like a little RPG group with your friends, then you'll need it. But if not, then don't. Thank you very much for the explanation. One last thing, if you do want to play this as sort of like a multiplayer company style thing, all you need to do is run MegaMek in the background. So you'll come over here to your copy of MegaMek. Start it up. And then you'll start your game, you'll play with your friends, and then when it goes to ask if you want to save a salvage file, you'll select yes. And then you'll come in here, and I just need to assign a unit to it. Bravo Lance, deploy force, guerrilla warfare, new scenario. And then when you want to finish this, what you'll do is you will, oh god, where is it? Export MUL file? No, resolve manually. Yeah, you'll click resolve manually. Did you control the battlefield? Yes. And then you'll upload your battle record file. And that will upload what happened in the battle. Or you can just go through completely manually and alter all the things that you need to and change it however you need to. This is a lot of fun once you really start getting rolling on it. And there is a pretty vibrant community of people who play this a lot, like, more seriously than I do. Mine is very much, the game that we're playing on our Twitch is much more in the style of a choose your own adventure type game, where I'm playing through the game in advance of the bot, but I'm creating scenarios that are interesting for the players to interact with. But you can do basically anything you want with it. So you don't even ever need to actually play against the bot. You can just use this to track your various expenses and all the costs and difficult things associated with it. And you can just use this to organize all of your thoughts and play on the actual tabletop. The flexibility in this program is amazing. And if you want to play Battletech in the original way, I highly recommend this is the way you play it. Also buy your minis or do whatever. So, like, I play this quite often, and then I've also started to assemble my own little mini collection. I've got myself a champion because I love the champion. Yeah, I think that's it. Again, any questions, ask them down below. I'll do my best to answer them. Join our Discord, we can answer them. Join us during our streams. We play MechHQ on Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and you can ask then. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks you for spending it with me. I will say goodbye to YouTube, and then I'll talk to the Twitch people. So to my YouTube people, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this has all made sense and has been relatively easy to follow. If, again, any questions, ask down below. I'd be more than happy, and I'm hoping to help you as best as I can to get more people who can enjoy this wonderful program. If you've been liking this, if you enjoyed it, if you found this guide at all helpful, hit the like button, subscribe, ask questions. Even if you don't have a question, just say something. Apparently that's good for the algorithm and pushes our numbers up so that we get more recognized and suggested to people. Share the content is the best way to do it, though, since the algorithm is so messed up. We're not a late night talk show host, so we probably won't ever show up on anybody's. But if you share it around to your friends, maybe they'll find it useful and share it on more. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all in the next episode.